Joining us on the line is Spencer Sekyer. He's a teacher in Alberta, but he has his eyes on problems in trouble spots all over the world and a heart stolen by a bunch of dogs. Spencer, it's nice to have you.
Nice to be here, John.
So this story starts in Kabul, and you've made a pattern in your life or a habit in your life of teaching in some of the world's trouble spots, and you were teaching in Kabul.
That's correct. I was kind of what I thought I would do, John, is, we stand up in front of the class and tell the kids to go make the world a better place. And I just thought it was, poignant for me to start to kind of walk my talk, so to speak, and to start to go out in the world and try and make the world a better place. So I was in Kabul teaching at a school called Ashiana. I was staying at my guest house, and of course, there's lots of stray dogs in a lot of developing nations. And as a dog lover like you are, often I end up petting some stray dog or cat or something. And there's this one mom that particularly caught my eye because it was apparent that she had just had puppies. And so, and despite the abuse that I saw her endure, just because, and in fairness to the Afghan people, there are so many dogs, and they're almost seen as a pest or a nuisance, and not all of them are friendly. That wasn't the case with who turned out to be Emma. But so I walked over to her very tentatively, and she just rolled on her back, and all she wanted was a pet and some love. And then it was, as I said, it was obvious that she'd had puppies, so I'm wondering, where are these dogs? A few days later, I'm walking down at night, and I heard a noise out of the gutter. The gutters there are like these steep cement trenches. And so I kind of peek over, and there's this big mass of wriggling white fur, and it's all their puppies. And so as it started out, I went in there, and they were just covered in fleas and disease and just kind of surviving off the scraps. So what I started to do is just basically feed them a little bit at a time, and it just kind of grew from there. Like I didn't go over to Afghanistan, with the intention of rescuing these dogs. I went over there to teach, and it just kind of happened spontaneously.
Yeah, and then you came home and you found you just couldn't leave them behind.
Well, what had happened was, when I was there, it was a whole saga when I was there. So these little puppies and mom were covered in fleas. So it started out, I started feeding them. And again, I'm sneaking it out because, and you have to understand, sometimes the people there don't have enough to eat. So I'm taking stuff from the breakfast buffet to feed animals. I can understand how it could be seen. So I had to be kind of covert about it and whatnot. So, and then from there, I just thought, you know what, like, they were just covered in fleas and scratching. And I thought, well, if I could just give them their shots, give them some flea meds, if nothing else, it'll give them a few months relief from that. So kind of gathered them all up one day and found a nearby vet and took them in. And what is so typical of the Islamic people I have found in Afghanistan is the vet gave all the puppies shots and give them flea meds and whatnot. And I took some flea meds back for Emma as well, and the vet wouldn't charge me. So now I had all these dogs that were vaccinated, and of course I'm falling in love with, like, who doesn't love a puppy? Now, what do I do with them? Like, do I just put them back in the gutter? So I took them to the school, and the headmaster of the school, engineer Joseph, was kind enough to let me keep them there. And kind of a crazy mom story is, the school was nowhere near my hotel where, I picked the puppies up and where Emma, the mom, was hanging out. And so I had the puppies inside the walls of the school, which is a compound. And we heard this noise outside, and it was Emma. Mom had found us through all of Kabul, was outside the walls of the school crying. So, again, Joseph was nice enough to let Mom come in and nurse the puppies. So I kept them there in this big plywood box for the week or two that I had left. And then what do? So I'm trying frantically to place these dogs so I don't have to put them back in the street. And this wonderful lady, Marnie Gustafson, who was running an orphanage in Kabul and was a dog lover, I somehow gotten put in touch with her, and she said, I'll take them and I'll get them adopted. And so fast forward a year later or so, and I'm donating money to her cause, and she contacted me and, just basically said, Spencer, it's not fair that we keep these dogs, in this, and it's fair enough. So I started to put out the call to get them over there. And now by this time, an agency called Nowzad had kind of stepped in and was taking care of the dogs. And we found out it was $7,000 a dog to get them over. So by this time, I got a couple adopted when they were over there. So by this time, there were 7 dogs. So it's like you're talking like $40,000. It's like, I don't how many bake sales and bingos, to raise that sort of money. So I just started putting out emails and made a few YouTube videos, and I was just so fortunate that the angel, Magna Baja, if you're out there, I've never been able to get in touch with her and thank her, arranged, hit the right person on the right day and arranged that, she said, if you can get the dogs to Frankfurt, Germany, I can get them here. And that's kind of how all that happened. And then once I got them here, it was a whole odyssey of getting them adopted.
And how many ultimately did you bring to Canada?
I ultimately brought 7. So what now is that kind of labeled them the Super 7. So that's how many actually came over to Canada. And then was the task. And anyone that's a dog breeder, I don't know how they do it, is to go by and find appropriate homes. We'd gotten quite a bit of media attention. So there was a ton of interest in these dogs. But again, I wanted them to be in absolutely the best homes and the best conditions. And it couldn't have turned out better, John.
I have to think, though, you probably heard from some people who think you're just crazy. You fell in love with some puppies and you couldn't leave them alone.
Well, part of that is and I was really so surprised because I actually got, when the story hit the media, I actually got a lot of flack. I got emails, I got phone calls at home, because one of the publications actually put my number in there to try and help get the dogs adopted. But I got a lot of attention, and I was actually really surprised, John. There was, most of it was positive, no question, but there was also a certain amount of negative press that went along with it, which I was really surprised. They're like, well, how about dogs here, and absolutely, like we're not without our issues with stray dogs and cats in North America. But my issue was, I just stumbled across them, and whether it was here or Toronto or Edmonton, it doesn't matter. I felt these dogs, were in need, and I did what I felt I had to do to help them. And also the misinformation, a little bit people are like, you're spending $40,000 to bring dogs over. It did not cost that much money. That's what it would have cost had it, been at full price. But just because of Air Canada being as gracious as they were in this instance, it didn't cost that much. So I can understand how a lot of people are you crazy? But I think those people also, John, miss the point. And the whole point is if your passion is to rescue animals here, then do it. Then volunteer at the SPCA or whatever. And the whole point that I was trying to get across is let's just try and make this a better place. And and I felt, what else than a helpless little puppy, to try and help that. So that was kind of my motivation initially. And it must have been a slow news day because it just caught fire and got a lot of attention.
Thank you so much for telling us the story. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, John.